Dolphins. Welcome to another episode of Pod Talks. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jake Castellanos, and today I'm very excited to welcome our guest, Michelle Gadowithy. She is a marketing executive with more than 10 years of experience creating global 360 campaigns for theatrical films, television, as well as direct-to-consumer programming. Michelle also currently works as the director of international creative at the Walt Disney Studios, and she graduated with a bachelor's in communication and a minor in business from CSUCI. Let us please welcome to the show, Michelle. Thank you for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. My pleasure.
So, thank you so much for being here. And first and foremost, Michelle, how are you staying safe and well during these times?
I mean, it's a complicated time, definitely, but I'm trying to really focus on taking time to spend time with family as much as possible, whether it be in person where possible, or even via Zoom. It's funny, we've spent more time with extended family than I think we ever have, because I have family on the East Coast and things like that. So it's actually been nice to sort of reconnect with them. And then, I love to cook. So I've been cooking, I've been doing DIY projects. I refinished some furniture, just to kind of keep the creative juices flowing, if you will. And, trying to get organized, trying to just, unclutter my life a little bit and all of that. So I think it's just a perfect time to kind of do that and get a daily dose of sunshine whenever possible.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you're staying productive and trying out new ways to, keep yourself busy.
Trying.
Absolutely. All right. Michelle, what are some pieces of advice you would share with someone searching for work right now or going through that job search process right now during these times?
It truly is unprecedented right now. I do think, though, it's a really good opportunity for people to challenge themselves to think outside the box. So, for example, like if you were interested in doing what I do, theatrically, we're not really releasing many films right now. They're sort of getting pushed as the need prevails. So, the theaters might not be opening right away. So we have to continue to push theatrical releases. And with that, obviously studios aren't bringing in the sort of income they're used to, and they're not going to be hiring in the way that they were. But if you turn that on its head, if you have an interest in the entertainment business, for example, you could think about streaming. Streaming is booming right now. TV is booming right now. And a lot of those companies are hiring like crazy. So I think about the business that you're interested in and see, okay, if this is where I'm at, pivot to think about, is there a line of business that's actually, in a sense, I hate to say reaping the benefit of the current situation, but in some ways there are businesses that might be booming. Like if you're interested in textiles, you may be able to find a job at a company that's producing masks or something like that. So maybe, you're interested in fashion, but if you could pivot and maybe find something where they're producing products that are kind of helping to keep people safe, creating PPE, that might be a great route for you to take, because you're going to learn on the job experience. You're going to get that on your resume, not to mention you're doing good, but those are really good opportunities where instead of not working, you're working and you're gaining real life experience that you could then pivot later on once our country comes kind of back and the world comes back into a more normal kind of process.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice, and kind of that mantra of searching with your skills that are needed and kind of desired, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Okay, next question, Michelle. Kind of from what you've seen in the marketing industry, are there any trends in terms of hiring that you've noticed? And for someone looking to get hired in marketing, just in this industry alone, is there anything of note that you would tell them?
It sort of harkens back to what I was saying previously. It's a very complicated time in my business. It's nothing I've ever seen. And I think a lot of even my superiors haven't seen. We've always been sort of unfallible in a way, even when we've had times of recession or things like that. Movies, because they're not a really premium price point, right? It's something that's accessible to most families. It's not cheap, but it's still something that you could do as a family that's not going on a vacation, or, you know, sort of a version of escapism, if you will. And I think that this is the first time where we ourselves have really been like, oh my gosh, like, we're not infallible. This has impacted our business in a big way, you know? And I know a lot of friends at other studios that are kind of feeling the same way. But I do think that in terms of getting hired in the industry, I think obviously as much as you can show what you can bring to the table is always important when you're applying for a position. But like I said before, like, finding ways that, you know, maybe it's a streaming service, maybe it's TV. You could look to the agency side, because agencies still have to produce creative materials, and they may have more bandwidth to hire because they're working for multiple studios or different streaming services. So those are all really good sort of foot in the door locations that you might be able to get into. Like, even if you wanted to be in a position like I'm in at some point, or get into a studio in a traditional sense, I think right now that could provide a challenge. And it's not to discourage you. If you see something, by all means, go for it, and go for it with gusto. But they are fewer and farther between than they typically would be.
Good piece of advice. And staying persistent, right, is kind of a theme there.
You have to be. You have to be.
Very good. All right, next question is, what advice have you received in your career has really stood out to you as one that you really have used for yourself in your career?
You know, there's a couple. The first one, and I've talked about this before. I was the keynote speaker at the Capstone Gala this year, and I talked about this. When you are hiring somebody, or on the flip side, as an interviewee, when you can see the passion in somebody's eyes, that they are excited, that they care about a position, that they are passionate about the subject they're talking about, that means more to me as a manager than whether or not you have a hard skill. Because you can teach somebody a hard skill, you cannot teach somebody to care. And that has been something that I was taught, and has just been some of the most solid advice I've ever received, because that's how I hire, and it's served me very well. You know, and part of that also is sort of in this idea, we call it like picking up the trash. There's this sort of adage that, and I've literally heard this happen, so be mindful. There are hiring managers that will crumple up a piece of paper and leave it on the floor in their office. And they'll have a candidate come in. And if the candidate doesn't pick up the piece of trash when they come in for the interview, they look them over. If they pick it up, they know that this is somebody that's sort of willing to roll up their sleeves. And the general idea is having an understanding that nothing is beneath us. In a time like we're in right now, we're having to wear many hats. And so I think that when a company is hiring, they want to know that somebody has the humility to be able to take on things that may be perceived as lesser than, or not as glamorous or exciting as the, you know, role may seem on the outside. And I think really just being willing to put in the work, roll up your sleeves, I think is always something that no matter what business you're in will serve you well. And it's something that I've literally won positions over other people because I'm willing to be flexible, because everything has ebb and flow, and you have to be willing to take the bad with the good. And like every job you have, please, it is not a panacea. Like, do not go into a job thinking every day is going to be perfect. There are days you're going to hate it and you're going to go home and you're going to cry about it. Trust me, I love my job, but there are days that are frustrating. You know, there's so many extenuating circumstances. So just know that. And then finally, asking questions. Always ask questions. It's the same idea of measure twice, cut once. If you ask the questions, you're going to learn. And I'll tell you, if you're asking the question, I guarantee you there are several other people that don't know the answer either, kind of like in school. So just keep that in mind.
That's great. I really think those are some really valuable insights, no matter what industry you might be involved with, and certainly has shown to be helpful for you in your career. So that's really great.
Definitely.
So Michelle, can you tell the viewers today, what does the CSUCI community mean to you, and how are you still staying connected today?
It means an immense amount to me. I learned so much. I feel like I got such an incredible education at CI, and I engaged. I had amazing professors. I had amazing classmates that were wonderful to connect with and work with, and I still keep in touch with. Um, so for me, I am a big believer in paying it forward. And so I engage in things like Dolphin Connect. I talk to students or alumni who might be seeking out a career in entertainment or even other, different lines of business. And I love giving back. It makes me feel good personally, like in a selfish way. I feel good to, help people out because I've had people help me out in my career. And I think that if I can inspire the next generation to continue that momentum, I think that it will only benefit all of us. And how well does that reflect on CI?
That's awesome. And what a great way to stay connected to the community by giving back to the community and into your time and advice that you're sharing with different people on Dolphin Connect that you've reached out to. So thank you for that. And yeah, for people watching, listening in today, Dolphin Connect is a great place to stay connected and to connect with people in different fields and people who have studied at CI. And so this is all, yeah, that's all really great. All right, last question for you, Michelle, is what do you have any last words of inspiration or motivation for anyone joining us today?
As we've talked about, it's times we've never seen before, right? And I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and tell you, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be easy for you to go out there. But I think that what you need to remember is you've gone to CI, you have a great foundation that's been laid for you and that you've laid for yourself. Take it easy on yourself. It's very easy to get kind of stressed out and bogged down and like, oh my God, what's the next step in my future? Just trust the journey. That's all I can say. Again, referring back to earlier, look at other lines of business. There are opportunities out there, I can guarantee you. I have a lot of friends that are looking and friends that have been hired recently. And I think that just being flexible, be flexible and, try to look into other opportunities you may not have previously explored. And I tell you, like, as somebody who ended up in a career path that I never thought I would have been in marketing, I always thought I'd be like on the talent management side. And I took a risk and tried something different and fell in love with it. So you may end up finding that what you thought was like, oh, this is the dream job I have. You may take a job because of timing or, you say, oh, well, this could be similar to what I want to do. And you may fall in love with that. And that might be the perfect job for you in the end. So I think be flexible, be kind to yourself, just try to take things in stride a little bit and know that, again, for the first time, probably since the Great Depression, this is a time when America is, and really the world at this stage, is suffering together in a sense, which in a way kind of gives us a little bit of breathing room. It's not like this is like, oh, just this industry is suffering. Everybody's sort of in it together, which I think should provide, while it's challenging, a little bit of comfort to know that we're not alone in the struggle. Everybody's going through it. Reach out to people, connect with people, network. All of those things help. So just, again, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and just see what's out there.
Great words of advice there. Michelle, thank you so much for being on the show today, and thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
All right. Continue to stay safe and well and take care, okay?
You too.
All right.